This week's episode is about why bad things happen to good people, or simply why bad things happen to anyone. I'm Rachael Keefe, and this is Monday's Muse. As you can see, we're in the backyard of the house and the work continues. This week, we hope that the siding will be completed. So next week, maybe you'll see the work that has been done, at least on the outside of the house. We're taking a break to enjoy a little bit of the sun, so I apologize for squinting. And also to talk about an important topic of why bad things happen. Some weeks feel like they have their very own theme. And in my ministry experience this past week, the question of why this bad thing happened was repeated by several different people. So I thought it would be worth taking a few minutes to just share some of my thoughts with you about that. Many years ago now, Rabbi Harold Kushner wrote the book, Why Bad Things Happen to Good People. And that little book, I think, changed the dialogue about why things happen. Before that, a lot of folks were just, everything happens according to God's will, be it good or bad. And Rabbi Kushner suggested that bad things happen because the world is still filled with chaos, and that we are called to be co-creators with God to bring creation into its fullest, most peaceful state. And that is a somewhat helpful answer, but when it's your child who has just received a terrible diagnosis, or it's someone you love who's been in a car accident, or something terrible has happened to you, that does not necessarily help. And there's something in us that screams out, why did this happen? My answer is a little less philosophical than Rabbi Kushner's. My response is that bad things happen sometimes because people, individuals or collectively, make spectacularly bad choices, and innocent people are caught up in the ripple effect of those bad choices. Like the person who chooses to drive drunk and gets into an accident and seriously injures or kills another person. Person who was injured or killed is completely innocent. We can say that about other things as well. Sometimes, like the fact that it's 40 degrees in Minnesota in February isn't any one person's fault, but it is at least in part the result of climate change that is a result of human actions. And of course, there are other things for which there are no explanations. Sometimes bad things just happen, but it does not mean that it's a punishment for sin or that it's God's judgment on anyone. Sometimes terrible things just happen. The only consolation I have is that God is with us. God's love for us doesn't change even when bad things are happening. That God is present in our most painful places, that God is present in our grief and in our anger and is bearing witness to God's steadfast love for us. That even in the worst situations, we are still loved and there is still hope. And I know even in these few minutes, what I've had to say isn't necessarily going to change anyone's thinking, but I hope it will help some folks consider things that they have blamed God for or blamed themselves for as just sort of bad things that happen to innocent people. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below if you're watching on YouTube. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.